Proper installation affects the sprinkler. Is it put in straight up and down, or is the dang thing crooked? That'll have a lot of effect on how its performance is. We put it at 5 degrees off horizontal and we've really screwed up its pattern. We got to have that thing standing straight up and down to be effective. Otherwise we distort its pattern on both sides of it. If we tighten them certain sprinkler heads down too tight, they won't rotate. You can tighten some of these impact bases down to where they bottom out on the threads of the coupler you're putting them on, and you actually wedge them into the bottom of the coupler and they won't turn. Now that seems like an obvious, but you'd be amazed at how many times it happens if the crew that's installing isn't aware of that kind of potential scenario, especially brass heads into plastic couplers. It can be done quite easily depending on the style of the plastic coupler. If the plastic coupler has a molding that necks down in the base of the coupler where the thread mold is, you can actually thread an impact head to the point where the bottom of it is seated on that molded in ridge on the inside of the coupling. And then you've wedged the sprinkler from turning. The base is stuck to the bottom of the coupler. It won't turn. So you have to be aware of things like that. If we put them too deep in the ground, in a turf, where we're putting heads, they're going to be mowed over. If they get put too deep, especially where we have lots of sand, or if we're doing a lot of work with sand on golf courses again, where we're sanding the greens and the tee blocks and around the edges of greens, and now even some courses even sand their fairways on a continuum. You put the head too low and you start putting a bunch of sand, that sand is going to get into that head. And that can be a very detrimental situation on these pop-ups. Or if you improperly put the pop-up too high, then all of a sudden you start getting mower blight on those sprinkler heads. There'll be pieces of plastic going everywhere. And I'm sure some of you have had the opportunity to wing a sprinkler head or two in your life. And, you know, improper installation. Then you got a geyser on your hands when that happens. And that usually happens in the middle of the night on a turf field, and nobody sees it for a day, and that next morning, all of a sudden, you got yourself a mess out there somewhere. Because you just had a sprinkler go full bore for a few minutes or maybe half the night because it just got broken off because it got mowed over because it was set too high.
Question.
Yes?
Say, for instance, one of those with the break off, but they have a system put in to where if pressure increases or the water comes out, it would actually shut the system off.
Yeah, the question is there a way to shut the system off if a head gets broken off? Okay. Well, and do it automatically, do the shutdown automatically. Interestingly, all of these golf course heads basically are valve and head. They all run independent of each other. You know, we've seen that.